Greetings, Galactic Jedi. Sorry for the delay. I was taking Athena potty because right when I was about to go live, exactly 10 minutes ago, Athena needed to go potty. So, I have to make sure that my dog is comfortable throughout the next hour before I could go live. Otherwise, she would be suffering the fact that she had to go potty. But in either case, I am here and I'm excited to share some new intel that has been coming from the Earth Alliance and the Galactic Alliance, um, revealing a certain event that took place during the solar eclipse. Something that has to do with what broke off from Antarctica. A lot of people thought it was a big iceberg, but it's actually something more than that, where it required massive intervention by the forces of light because of the fact that I will explain shortly. But before I do like to start off with a date in history. Today is April the 15th, 2024. We are on the Earth Positive timeline. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing wonderful. Today in history, exactly in the year 1912, the Titanic was sunken, all right? On this very date, but in the year 1912, the Titanic was sunken. And you guys want to know why that happened, right? It wasn't by chance or by accident. It was intelligently planned by the financial bankers who were trying to implement the Federal Reserve here in our country. According to real history, it turns out that there were certain people that were going to oppose the establishment of the Federal Reserve back in 1913 that were on that ship. So right before the ship left, members that were aligned with the cabal families, right, like J.P. Morgan and the gang, decided to cop out, right? They didn't go on the ship because they knew what was happening. They bought out the captain. They told the captain that his family was going to be handsomely rewarded and taken care of in future generations. And all he had to do was, again, cause the sinking of the Titanic so that those people that were opposing the establishment of the central banking system could not be in the way of the conspirators that were operating from Jekyll Island. For those that have read my book, it was all done, this whole plan of establishing the last of the central banking systems in 1913 was done secretly. All the negotiations took place on a private island called Jekyll Island. All right, so that's something that happened today in history back in 1912, the sinking of the Titanic, which again was orchestrated by the deep state back then. Now, another thing that I wanted to share about myself, I always like to share a fact about myself, is that I am very in touch with my feminine side. And what do I mean by that? All right. When I'm sad, right, because of something that happens, I allow my tears to come out. All right. I don't buy into the macho stuff that guys are not, or men shouldn't be crying. If I am emotionally burdened by something, or something happens, or I hear about something that really just strikes a core emotionally, I release tears. All right. I allow myself to feel. I am very in touch with my feelings. And this doesn't mean that I am not an alpha male, because I am an alpha male. It just means that I am able to really feel my emotions, all right? So I am very in touch with that feminine aspect of myself. I like to live in harmony, right? Just like how I exercise for my body to keep a strong, robust physique, and just how I like to do research to keep a robust, mental agility, and like I like to meditate to keep my spirituality going. It is a balance between mind, body, and spirit. Therefore, I am also very well balanced when it comes to feeling emotions and, of course, being at the same time a critical thinker and using my rationality. Of course, I always lead with my heart, though. That's the thing about me. I always lead with my heart. Let's see. Before we get into this information that I wanted to share coming from the Galactic Alliance, a lot of things are unfolding, guys. Tomorrow could be a big day, or the next few days could be a big day if everything goes according to plan. All right, I'm going to share something that has been going on from behind the scenes that might affect reality, but in a positive way, guys. This is what we've all been waiting for. But before I share the great news with the Galactic Jedis, I want to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for spending your Monday evening with me. It is an honor. The most awakened people on the planet are on my platform, I believe. Thank you so much for being here. So, I would like to also remind you guys that the old Facebook I had with over 14,000 followers is been hijacked. All right, I've been, it's somebody stole. I don't know how they did it, but that Facebook is no longer mine. The only Facebook I have is through my website. All right, our cosmicorigin.com. So if you guys want to follow me on social media, all my proper links are there. All right, through my website or cosmicorigin.com. I think with my new Facebook, I only have about 4,000 followers. But the old Facebook that I had for a couple of years was apparently hijacked. It was stolen from me. I don't know how they did it. All right. I was hacked. I was hacked. It happens to the best of us, right? Especially when you have valuable information to share. And you know what? I wasn't surprised that happened because when I first got my Instagram, when I first decided to go public, even though I had to push myself to go public, right? I was always against social media. If you would have talked to me 4 years ago, I was that kind of guy that would laugh at people for having social media. I didn't care about being on my phone. I didn't care about being on social media and and all this stuff. I used to think social media was actually created by the deep state in order to keep track of people, and I still do to an extent. But I was in the, getting ready to publish a huge book, Our Cosmic Origin, and so I needed to create a platform. So after I forced myself to get social media, I actually ended up getting hacked after I reached about 10,000 followers within a period of about 7 months on Instagram, and so that social media was a hijack, and so I had to start a new social media a month later, and I bounced back up. I think now on my Instagram, I have about 86,000 followers, but that was in a period of 2.5 years now, I guess, since I've had that Instagram. But the whole point is this, guys. You know, um, people get hijacked. Okay, people get what is the word called? I can't think of it anymore. You know what I mean, right? There are infiltrators that don't want this information to come out. So yes, I was hacked twice already. I just hope that it doesn't happen with any other platforms. Anything else that I want to share before I get into the new intel? One second here. Let's see. All right. As a reminder, guys, I will be partaking in the New Living Expo this coming weekend on the 19th, 20th, and 21st in San Rafael. If you guys are going to attend, it would be awesome. I will be presenting there, breaking down the cosmic structure. I'm going to be doing I guess, PowerPoint presentation. So it'd be nice to meet some of you guys there. And also, again, I want to thank those that have already ordered The Secret Government. I'm getting, everyone is loving it. Thank you so much, guys. I am honored to release that book once again because, I think that information was needed now. Okay, I believe so. So I think everything happened for a reason. And so I've been getting a lot of positive feedback that people are unable to put it down. Once they start reading it, it's like one of those movies where you're constantly in suspense and you want to know the next part and the next part. So thank you so much for getting hooked on that information. And I think that's it. All right, so let's talk about what's going on. Okay, well, first and foremost, as you guys know, during the solar eclipse, we've been on a steady trajectory in the positive ascension timeline. All right, a huge convergence has taken place, and it's still ongoing. All right, where multiple Earth realities in a spectrum of negative and positive timelines are collapsing into what I call 3 overall timelines. Now, there was also something that took place during that day that has, stirred up a lot of attention, you could say, in mystery. It's shrouded with mystery in the social media, right? And that is the fact that a week ago, right around the time of the solar eclipse, an iceberg, a huge iceberg, broke off from Antarctica, and whatever that iceberg had was heading over to southern Africa, and it was huge. Some believe that thing that broke off from from Antarctica, from the iceberg, was actually a creature. Now, I was able to get some intel on that, and it turns out that that was a creature. All right. So it turns out that during Atlantean times, I don't know if you guys ever heard of the ancient sea monster known as the Leviathan. Okay, the Leviathan has been frozen for over 10,000 years in Antarctica. And this is partly the reason why a lot of Earth governments have been going down there. They've been, been trying to monitor this ancient creature. They were trying to figure out when this ancient creature was going to break away. Of course, the deep state and the dark cats were trying to use their technology to eventually release this creature, just like the Nephilim. And then, of course, the white hats were, opposing them, saying, no, this is going to be detrimental to society if this, huge, bigger, they say it's as big as, this is where they get the concept of Godzilla, guys, okay? This is where they get the concept of Godzilla. So it turns out that according to the Earth Alliance and the Galactic Alliance, that recently a remarkable event unfolded last week during the solar eclipse that allowed the collaboration of the Earth Alliance and the Galactic Alliance to work diligently to make sure that nothing bad happened. Apparently, a mysterious iceberg did break off from Antarctica, revealing a startling secret. And this is one of the secrets that the elites were actually concealing from us, that they didn't want the general public to know, as to why, so much attention was focused in Antarctica. All right, so it turns out that this ancient secret harbored that was known as it was a sea serpent, right? This is where they get the concept of Godzilla. And by the way, guys, if you guys want to know the truth, it turns out that the deep state, right, because they do have technology that is thousands of years ahead of us, were able to recreate the dinosaurs as well. All right. They created, okay, that's a different topic. But if you guys want to know about where they've been keeping the resurrected dinosaurs, the T-Rex, they're all back to life. And this is something that's been going on in the last 25 years. All right. Just look up, just look up. I think it's called Base 9, and it's located in Brazil. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So this ancient sea creature, known as the Leviathan, was frozen for over 10,000 years. Okay. This discovery apparently set off a chain of events that involved an emergency involvement regarding the Earth Alliance, involving the Earth Alliance and the Galactic Alliance. So the Leviathan, right? Again, we read about the Leviathan in ancient manuscripts. Even the Bible talks about the Leviathan. And it is an ancient creation that was created by, who? Who was the master geneticist in ancient Atlantis? Yes, Enki. During Atlantean times, okay? And the reason Enki created this, what we would consider a Godzilla creature, was to fight the gods of Olympus. He was trying to get back at his brothers Zeus and Enlil and the Council of the 12 Olympians. But luckily, in ancient times, the gods of Olympus were able to strike this Leviathan sea creature down, and they were able to freeze it in ice, heavily in ice, knowing that it would be frozen for thousands and thousands of years. So this creature was designed to create chaos on Earth in ancient Atlantean times, apparently. But thank God that the Council of the Gods back then, the guardians of the Earth, were able to counteract that. It's actually the best way to describe this. Okay, so it's awakening. The Leviathan, its awakening posed a significant threat once again to humanity, with the potential to unleash untold devastation upon its release. That has, apparently it's been in ice for thousands of years. So this creature emerged all of a sudden, signaling a danger that transcended more than physical threats, all right? As it carried the weight of ancient enmities and power struggles, okay? Because it does have memory, all right? It does have memory. And I want you guys to think about the movie Godzilla. If Godzilla was a real creature, Wouldn't that pose a great threat to us? Of course it would, right? Well, it is believed that the Leviathan that was released from Antarctica was actually bigger. It was bigger than what we would consider Godzilla. So apparently, the intervention by the Earth Alliance, with the help of the Galactics, which allowed them to cause a swift action that was taken place a week ago, um, supported by the Galactics, of course. You know, the Earth Alliance themselves couldn't do it by themselves. They actually had to collaborate with the Galactics to mitigate the looming threat posed by this Leviathan. And apparently, there was videos that were released, I think, on Twitter and on different social media platforms, where they saw this huge shadow moving from Antarctica, that was moving towards the south of Africa. All right, it was actually venturing. It was making its way towards the south of Africa, which is the closest continent to it. So this collaboration between the Earth Alliance and the extraterrestrial forces apparently underscores a new era of cooperation and shared responsibility in safeguarding our planet, which leads us to believe that this creature is currently being held. Again, it was captured by the Earth Alliance in collaboration with the Galactic Alliance, and it is right now held in prison. So they put this creature. They were able to teleport this creature into one of the motherships, and I'm going to get to that point right now. They were able to teleport this creature, as big as it was. Otherwise, right now we would have been hearing it all over the news that the Southern Africa was attacked by some sort of they were going to call it an alien from the sea, right? With all these movies coming out about how, we shouldn't be looking at the sky for alien invasion, but looking at the sea. Remember that one movie that came out 10 years ago where they had these huge aliens coming out from the sea, and the Earthlings had to create these avatars, these robotic avatars, in order to fight these creatures? Well, that's exactly what this thing was, okay? So, but luckily it was captured. It was captured and teleported, and it is right now being held hostage in one of the motherships. And yes, the Galactics do have the technology to pretty much restrain, this thing that was apparently about 1,000 feet tall, but it was also very, very wide. It was huge. Okay, again, this was an experiment that was created by Enki in Atlantean times in order to fight the gods. So currently, there has been major negotiations as a result of this. Okay, major negotiations taking place between the Earth Alliance and the Galactic Alliance regarding some sort of an emergency first contact mission. All right, they want to speed up the disclosure. In other words, okay, on the positive timeline, they want to speed up the disclosure. So apparently, as revealed, there is over 150 million motherships. As a result of these negotiations that have been taking place from behind the scenes, there's over 150 motherships that have entered Earth's atmosphere that are seeking to expedite humanity's awakening process. So the Earth Alliance, within the last few days, who are being represented prominently by the United States Space Force, has been accepted into the Intergalactic Alliance of Free Worlds. Okay, so this is something that took place recently. So now we are part of the Intergalactic Alliance of Free Worlds, which is a very good thing. Before, we were only part of the United Federation of Planets, which only consists of anywhere from 600 to 800 worlds, mainly planets that were part of our local star cluster. But to be part of the Intergalactic Alliance, my friends, that is a coalition of billions of galaxies, okay? And that treaty was actually signed 3 years ago, but it now recently came into effect as of this week. Back then, I think they call it the Jupiter Accordance, or the Jupiter Concordance. That's what they called it in 2019 when it was first signed. So together, the Earth Alliance and the Galactic Alliance are aspiring to transition humanity into an interplanetary society characterized by advancements and presenting such technology, such as zero-point energy, which is a technology that has been used within the SSP breakaway groups, right, for the last 80 years. They want to bring that first and foremost in order to end the suffering and end Edison and the petrochemical companies, and of course what I mean, the chemical company. I don't want to say it here on this channel, but I have to be careful with what I say. Hopefully nothing gets flagged here, but the whole point is this: that in the last week there's been massive negotiations to speed up the disclosure, which is a very, very good thing. Among some of these technologies is, of course, the med beds, the replicators. If we have replicators, apparently we're going to bypass any money system or any money type of structure. Okay, with actual replicators, we could literally, when it comes to physical things, we could literally manifest. It's like 3D on steroids. Okay, manifest anything we want. So in the last week, ever since the solar eclipse, there's been massive. They're really trying to speed up this first contact with the intergalactic, with the alliance and the galactics. Okay, so that's very, very, very good news. They're thinking that if things go accordingly, we're probably going to see some form of first contact taking place. They're saying by the end of this month. Who knows? But don't quote me on that. Things could always fluctuate, right? Because we're still dealing with a future timeline war that's taking place in the future. So recognizing that the forces of light are working together against all negative forces. All right. It turns out that next to Andromeda, there was another galaxy by the name of Canis Major Dwarf Galaxy, which is the second galaxy that is closest to us, that was apparently been taken over by negative AI. And through that galaxy, the AI god has been trying to infiltrate our solar system. Right? It was able to infiltrate our galaxy throughout on a few different star systems, mainly those that were in Orion. So that's not a good thing, but it is believed that eventually when we transform and with our superpowers, we're going to be the liberators. All right, we're going to go out there and liberate these systems that were apparently infiltrated by the AI god. So recognizing that there's this ongoing threat still until the ascension that is being posed by negative AI, particularly the AI god and its mission. The Galactic Alliance, it had to implement protective measures. So that's why I put the thumbnail of the Earth being secured or guarded by those concentric circles that look like rings around the Earth. Well, that's just to give you guys a visual of what the Intergalactic Alliance is doing right now in order to make sure that the negative AI does not, invade our solar system. So therefore, the Earth was enveloped with 3 concentric circles around the Earth, safeguarding it against unwanted intrusions until the point of the ascension. All right. So right now they're holding everything back, which means that we are really, really close to the Great Solar Flash. That's what that means. So this strategic shielding obviously ensures that humanity can evolve into our next phase of evolution as prophesied in the ancient documents, right? Which is going to be Homo galactus, metahumans, right? I talked about the angelic human as opposed to the transhuman human, right? So this was designed so that we could evolve and without any interference, pretty much. So until the absolute convergence of all the timelines into one positive timeline singularity, all right, where there is only one positive timeline singularity. Of course, there's going to be 2 other timelines, but we don't have to worry about those until the end of the millennium. So, therefore, the galactic liberation and ascension is still underway, all right? That is the beautiful news that I have to share. Now, the liberation of Canis Major, the Canis Major Dwarf Galaxy, which is not too far from the Milky Way, currently, like I said, it was hijacked by the AI god, all right? That entire galaxy, Canis Major Dwarf, was taken over by the AI god and the Animus, all right? And I know, to give you guys an example of what that would look like, well, imagine every planet in that galaxy being taken over by artificial intelligence, where humans are pretty much reduced into slaves. But not only humans, but every biological life form. Okay, so that is not a good picture, right? For the inhabitants of Canis Major Dwarf. Okay, so apparently, as the Earth ascends, they believe that's why they put the Earth in three concentric circles of protection, that is being supported by the collective efforts of, the Earth Alliance and the Galactic Alliance. They believe that since we are the chosen race, right, we have the genetic potential to become the most powerful entities in the cosmos. They are making sure that we reach that point where we are going to activate our dormant DNA, so that when we do, we could go out there and liberate those few solar systems in Orion that were apparently taken over by the egg god, which is only a small fraction of our galaxy, only a few solar systems, but also, more importantly, the liberation of Canis Major Dwarf Galaxy, which is a big thing right now. Okay, so they're waiting for us to activate our superpowers so that we could be the liberators. Okay, because there is no galactic right now that is powerful enough to liberate the inhabitants that are living within the Canis Major Dwarf Galaxy. So the Intergalactic Alliance stands apparently vigilant when it comes to our planet, right? Because our planet is the most important planet in the multiverse. I've said this many of times. They stand vigilant in shielding not only our planet, but even our solar system. As I speak, there is a huge fence around our solar system. Thank God that fence was actually placed there, I believe, in 2014 by the carrions, the bird people, which many call the blue avians. And I believe this information about this electronic fence surrounding our solar system was confirmed and validated by whistleblower Corey Good as well. So as we journey towards our ascension, bear in mind, guys, that there's going to be a huge responsibility on us when we activate our dormant DNA. We are going to be like the Avengers of our universe, right? And liberate other star systems and other galaxies as well. So once the Earth reaches this pivotal moment that we are all waiting for, it is believed that we are going to bring liberation to the entire universe, but not only to the entire universe, guys, but to the entire multiverse from this Earth. Okay, so a lot of this has also been preserved within the ancient oracle prophecies. If you guys study the intergalactic records of the galactic prophecies, I mean, it's talked about these events that are going to be apparently taking place as a result of our ascension, right? Where the metahumans, meta meaning superhumans, right, become the liberators of the entire multiverse. All that information was actually concealed within the records of the intergalactic Akashic libraries. So the recent events surrounding the awakening, apparently, of this Leviathan creature, right, and subsequent interventions by the Earth Alliance and Galactic Alliance represents a pivotal moment in humanity's overall journey. All right, we are meant to reach the next stage of human evolution, guys. It is written, it is prophesied. All right, these prophecies, again, they go back into the galaxy, right? The records of the galaxy. As we navigate, okay, so as we navigate through the complexities of interplanetary politics, which is, again, something that is being negotiated between the United States Space Force, Earth Alliance, and the Galactic Alliance, we are going to squash these ancient rivalries that actually stemmed from the ancient Atlantis, ancient Lemuria. And if you want to take it back to the Orion Wars, for those that have read my book, or the Wars of Lyra, I mean, all this stuff is just in its last phase, and it's coming to an end here in our planet. And that's why when the Bible says that the last battle between good and evil is going to be taking place on this planet, I mean, you should take that very literal. But bear in mind that was a battle that has been going on for over 560 million years. A battle that began in Lyra and is now coming to an end here in our timeline. So as we navigate through through these wonderful changes, the prospect of being a united and liberated planet also includes becoming one with the galactic community, apparently, and becoming one with the intergalactic community, which includes, again, the collaboration of other universes, right? I mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. The Earth is getting ready to become the epicenter of the entire universe, all right? So with each step that we, the forces of light, take forward towards this better future for all organic life forms in the multiverse, humanity draws very close to a future defined by cooperation, enlightenment, and the realization of what is now known as cosmic partnership. So, I mean, that is amazing, guys, okay? This, I mean, if you guys really sit back and think about all this, for the last few months, as I mentioned last week, the Nephilim that awoke last year, right? The Nephilim, many giants were discovered in the mountains. There's been massive footage regarding some of these giants that were negative, that were supposed to eat us and wreak havoc. Okay, so those giants were apparently cornered, right? For the last few months, they've all been rounded up. So we don't have to worry about no Nephilim. We don't have to worry about the Nephilim anymore, all right? We also don't have to worry about any negative aliens, all right? The last of the Draconians, which were hiding in Mount Etna, which is a volcano in Sicily, they've been rounded, right? And the only reason why they saw those two crafts coming out of Etna, the volcano in Sicily, was because they were fleeing. They were running away from the super soldiers. But immediately, again, they were teleported by one of the millions of motherships. All right. Right now, as I speak, guys, there are millions of motherships that are parked in our atmosphere. And the only reason we don't see them is because they are cloaked. Okay. But we don't have nothing to worry about, guys. The entire host of heaven is here. All right. All we have to do is continue doing our part, continue doing the internal work, continue letting go of what doesn't serve us anymore, continue releasing old traumas, continue in the process of forgiveness, continue in our own personal salvation, which is what we call the ascension. Okay. So we don't have to worry about the giants. We don't have to worry about any dark portals, right? It's official. CERN is literally under the control of the White Hats, all right? We don't have to worry about the Leviathan, the ancient serpent that's, again, it was like 3 times the size of Godzilla. That would have been not good for South Africa, because from South Africa, it was going to move into Europe, all right? That would have been exactly what we see in the movies. Like, imagine if Godzilla was real. I know some of you might think, God, has Ishmael lost it? Is this sci-fi? Guys, I'm telling you, look up base number 9 in Brazil. For the last 25 years, they've been hiding the dinosaurs there. Excuse me, let me get some water. The T-Rex, all those different dinosaurs that existed during the Triassic era, 65 million years ago, have come back to life, all right? Think about it. We have the technology. We have the technology to resurrect any specimen. It's just that they hide it from us. Although in plain sight, they disclose this information through movies like Jurassic Park. Think about it. Why are they telling us this through Jurassic Park? Because they have to always tell us what they're up to, right? But they make us think that it's sci-fi or fantasy. It's real, guys. They have over, according to the information that I was told, they have over a few hundred dinosaurs. I don't know the exact number, but it's a huge jungle. It's a secret jungle where they keep these dinosaurs. And it's known as Base 9. That's all I could say. I don't really have much intel as to where they're hiding these dinosaurs, but these dinosaurs are real. They have come back. One second. Sorry about that. I get thirsty when I speak. So we have nothing to worry about, guys, all right? And also, in terms of the geopolitical scenario, I was informed that the White Hats, the Earth Alliance, are striking a deal with BRICS. And yes, BRICS is part of the new financial system. It's going to be backed by gold. It's going to be and precious metals. It's designed to overthrow the fiat money. All right, it's designed to overthrow paper money. As far as I know, is that when 45. Somebody says I'm doing great. Thank you. As far as I know, is when 45 comes back into office, and many people think that 45 is the leader of the White Hats. Not at all. Okay, just like the cabal has puppets, right, that are running the show for them, where even the puppets are only surface level. They really don't have a clue of the real agenda that is taking place 9, 10 levels down. 45 is just a puppet, but he's a good guy. He's a puppet for the White Hats, okay? The White Hats are also compartmentalized. Bear in mind that the White Hats are also operate through secrecy, okay? They have to, because if they didn't, how can they combat the cabal? So people like 45 and people like JFK Jr., who Carrie Cassidy is saying that is 107, all right? That could be true, I'm not sure, but she believes strong-heartedly. I had a chance to actually be on a panel with her yesterday. And I thanked her for all the work that she's done, with Project Camelot and interviewing all those whistleblowers over the course of the 20 years. I mean, she's brought a lot of information out. She strongly believes that 107 is JFK Jr. She claims to have met him in person, and she says he has a beard, but she also reveals that he has a double. She says that every political figure has a double. And that validates when I first talked about the second 45. Remember, I was talking about there's a 45 double that is promoting that's not the real 45, right? That's the double, right? Which is actually a double that was generated by the cabal. So according to Carrie Cassidy, JFK Jr. is 107, right? I'm going to see if I could get him on my show so that we could pick his brain. Imagine if I could get JFK Jr. on my show. If and so he is 107. That's only if that's true. Okay, we'll have to find out. Eventually, everything's going to come to light. But the whole point is this: that even 107 or JFK Jr. and 45 are just frontmen. They're just surface people. All right. The White Hat intelligentsia is also very deep. At the highest levels of the White Hats, you actually have super soldiers that are working with the generals. You have humans that have been genetically enhanced with supernatural abilities. How else do you think these superhumans were able to combat these 10, 15-foot Nephilim giants that, again, woke up from their chamber, from their stasis, after sleeping for thousands of years? There is no way that no man, right, at the current, rate of our potential could go up against a 15-foot Nephilim. You have to be genetically enhanced like Captain America, right? Like X-Men, right? You have to have superhuman strength in order to combat a giant. But, I like how David in the Bible was able to get, with a slingshot, right? He was able to knock out Goliath, right? The story of the Bible. Well, Goliath is an example of the Nephilim. Goliath was part of the Nephilim, and King David knocked them out with a sling. I think he threw a rock and he got him right between the eyes. For those that have read the Bible, but the whole point is this, guys: we don't have any threats. Okay, the negative aliens have been removed as of last week. There is no more Dracos on this planet. All right. They have all been hostage. They have all been taken to prison, galactic prisons. And yes, they are keeping them. This is the thing. They are keeping them here within the atmosphere, but on a prison, on a ship, so that when the solar flash happens, they could be bursted. All right. The solar flash will burst entities that are still vibrating at low frequencies in service to self. And that includes the wicked. Okay, so whatever wicked people that are left out there, they're all going to, burst at the onset of the solar flash. So we don't have to worry about anything else. And that is the good news. Okay, we are on a steady trajectory into good things happening for planet Earth. The entire negative timelines, right, that the cabal threw us into because of CERN, when they were still under their control, have all been reverted. So, yeah, I guess that's a lot to think about today, huh? The Leviathan. Nobody knew about the Leviathan, but Yeah, it's an ancient creature that was created by Enki to fight the Olympian gods, and that creature was, was defeated by the gods. They couldn't kill it, but they defeated it. They defeated it, and they locked it in ice in Antarctica. It has been there for 10,000 years. But yes, due to the fact that um, the ice in Antarctica is melting. Eventually, it was going to be melted away, and that's what happened last week. So, with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and take some questions now. Oh God, I should have gone live on TikTok. Let's see. Yes, I'll just take questions from my phone. I want to welcome all 1,028 people that are in the house. How is everyone doing out there? I want to give a shout out to some of the Galactic Jedis that are here. If I could only access my own YouTube without any commercials.
If a man only ate ashwagandha.
All right, so I want to welcome Glenn Frey, David Hinyup, Linda Wong. Let's see who else. Tim Potter, Tracy, my friend Joshua, who goes by the name of John, Ricky Lee, 1111. Truth Seeker Forever, Mathis Chronicles, Stardust Diamond, Radiant Guardians, Wade Woodruff, Gary Steiner, Leela Maucha, MJF, Dale Ellis, Michael Hoyston, and who else is in the house? New York, Mathis Chronicles, Diana77, Chaston Rose, Sophia, Glenn Ray, Kevin, Tim Porter, Joanna, Tracy, and everyone else that's in the house. Baby Blue Notes is in the house. Welcome, welcome. And of course, Amanda Tempori. So I wanted to give a few of you guys a shout out, and all the 10,000 people that are in the house. Thank you guys so much for being here. Now, if you guys do me a favor and please write your questions in capital letters, that would be greatly appreciated. Oops. Carrie, okay, so Carrie Dickory, Carrie Dickari's asking me, what do you think about Urantia? You must be referring to the Urantia book. Well, it's very dense. It kind of is an attempt to synthesize spirituality, philosophy, and religion. I mentioned this before. The Urantia book, which was a transmission from the higher intelligences, a collection of data that was given to the Earth in the 1950s, was actually corrupted. But the only thing that they couldn't corrupt was the cosmology aspect of it. But everything else, when it comes to the history of Urantia, when it comes to the real life and teachings of Jesus, all that was corrupted and changed, okay? So about 51% of it was corrupted and totally altercated by the dark side. All right? You have to understand, back in the 1950s, this world was completely under the control of the military industrial complex, right? Under Truman. Unfortunately, Eisenhower inherited that, and he had no other option but to comply. However, we do know that Eisenhower also met with Valiant Thor and a few other commanders of the Galactic Federation of Worlds to begin developing militaries that would counteract what the deep state was doing. So that book, to answer your question, is only 49% correct. And the only part of that book that's correct is the cosmology part. And the only reason I was able to confirm that was because when I accessed some of the secret information that was coming from SSP whistleblowers that was held within the Advanced Contact of Intelligent Organization, an ultra-secret organization that is at the highest level of the NSA, I was able to access the Stargate number of the Earth, and they did confirm that the cosmos is so big that everything in the cosmos is divided in brackets of 100, and that's how we derived at our Stargate number. But they did confirm that there were 7 spheres that make up the grand central. They called it the omniverse, and that we were part of the seventh sphere, which is what the Eurasian material calls the super universe. But even within that, the super universe that we belong to is also broken off into cosmic minor sectors. And then even furthermore, each cosmic minor sector is also broken off into minor sectors. And then, of course, each minor sector breaks off into local universes. And then each local universe breaks off into constellations. Each constellation breaks off into systems. And then, each system is comprised of anywhere from 600 to 1,000 worlds. So, yeah, I was able to confirm that information by cross-examining it with the testimonies that were coming from whistleblowers within the secret space program. Joyful's in the house. How you doing, sister? Thank you so much for the super chat. She says, will Disney and other venues such as comedians and other entertainment exist in any of the timelines? Yes. However, the entertainment industry, which we know was totally corrupted and run by the dark side, is going to shift. And as of that point forward, as we enter this new golden era, the film industry, music, people's talents are still going to be exercised, right? But it's all going to be towards the spiritual evolution of humanity. They're all going to be geared towards the education of higher knowledge. So yeah, everything's going to shift, including the entertainment system. We're still going to have national or what we call Disney type of amusement parks, but they're not going to have. They're not going to be controlled by the dark side, all right? They're not going to be kidnapping kids anymore. They're not going to be, you could say, doing, nasty stuff underneath those amusement parks. All that stuff's going to be eliminated. So the amusement parks in the future, in the golden age, are going to be geared towards education, fun, and leisure time to spending a good time with family and friends. We're still going to be able to enjoy amusement, theater, the arts, orchestras, music. All that stuff's still going to exist, but it's all going to be spiritual. It's all going to be positive. Okay. I do have some other super chats that I want to get to. Stuart Williams, thank you so much for your super chat. He says, this information is on another level. Thanks, Ishmael. Oh, you're welcome, Stuart. Thank you so much, brother, for being here and for your super chat. Let me see. Do I have any more super chats? I thought I had another one, but I guess it disappeared. Guys, I have no control over what YouTube does. So if you guys throw a super chat and then it disappears, it's not me. I don't know why it does that. So I'm just going to continue going down the chat to pick some questions, random questions. I'm just looking for questions at this time. All right, this is a good question because I do talk about this in my book, The Secret Government, Invisible Architects. David Hynup wants to know, are all Freemasons bad? The original Masons were an extension of the suppressed Knights Templars in the year, I believe in the year 14 something. And so the Knights Templars, 1307, that's when they were persecuted by King Philip IV and Pope Clement, who were working with the cabal that controlled the Vatican. The original Masons were good, right? They were the reorganized Templars after their persecution. However, in 1776, through another, dark agent by the name of Adam Weishaupt, who created the Bavarian Illuminati, the whole purpose of creating this Illuminati in collaboration with the rise of the House of Rothschild was to infiltrate the Masonic lodges. However, there were a few members that remained loyal to the original Republic and the Constitution that became the guardians and therefore the progenitors of what we call the White Hats of today. And yes, they still operate in secret, but they follow and honored the faction known as the Blue Lodge. And the Blue Lodge is directly associated with Mary Magdalene's Order of the Rose, which later reorganized into the Holy Order of the Grail. And it also aligns perfectly with the Sirius star system, which is the primary management or governing, you could say, board of our galaxy, of our galactic alliance. But yeah, for the most part, the fraternities, if you were to join a local Masonic lodge, those are all infiltrated. Yes, for that most part, at the highest level, they're all controlled by the Illumi. I'm not going to say it. I'm on fluff tooth. Cosmic Goddess, thank you so much for your donation, sister. I appreciate that. See, a lot of these questions that you guys asked me regarding, these secret societies and more are answered in my book, The Secret Government Invisible Architects. Learn about the history of the White Hats, too. Again, the White Hats have been around for thousands of years, because if that wasn't the case, we would have all been controlled by the dark side thousands of years ago, right? The Roman Empire would have executed their full totalitarian agenda, or even the Babylonian Empire, 3,000 years prior to that. Okay, well, this is a good question from Ricky Lee. He wants to know, will we get any signs beforehand on the solar flash? I believe that we are going to intuitively know within ourselves that it's here, right? Right before we transform, right? Or before we become upgraded, as the other 10 strands of DNA come online. This is best to answer it. This is how I'm going to answer it. Our psychic abilities are going to enhance dramatically. All of a sudden, we're going to all become super psychic. And that's when we know that the solar flash is going to happen any second. All right? That's the best way to answer that. All right, Sam Griffin wants to know, any updates on the golden city that was risen? Yes, me and Jenny Lee talked about that about a year ago. And the golden city is another thing that, again, both the dark side and the White Hats have been, the White Hats have been protecting it. The dark side has been coming after it because they hold what is known as the tree of life, which is the tree of immortality. Everything is going to rise, okay? When we undergo this dimensional shift, you realize we're going to have contact with the galactics. We're going to have contact with the inner Earth civilizations. We're going to have contact with everything. So yes, when the ascension takes place, the city of gold, just like Shambhala, just like Atlantis, just like Lemuria, it's all going to be in the open, visible for us to see. Absolutely. All right, Jerry Ralph is asking me if I have any more information on Queen Diana. Just like JFK Jr., she was protected for many, many years, and she's still alive, I believe. I was told was in 2020. I was told she was still alive. I haven't had a chance to ask for, to see if she's still alive. But back in 2020, she was well and alive, right? But I guess I should ask about her as well. Very good question. But yeah, she was actually taken off world by the benevolent secret space program for many, many years. And then I believe she did return back in 2020. Yes, Enki is the evil one, guys. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The entire Sumerian tablets were inverted, all right? He's the one who created all these monsters. All right, all these monsters that the sons of Zeus had to fight, that the sons of Zeus had to battle against in order to protect the mortals, the evolving humans. All right, Perseus, Theseus, Hercules, they were all engaged in the battle with these monsters. Think about this: mythology is ancient history. Mythology is ancient history. Those tales of the gods of old and the demigods were no other than the super soldier programs back then. See, the super soldier programs are existing in the future, and they're also existing in the past due to the fact that we have time travel, and time travel is very, very real. So it's all connected, guys. It's all connected. Think about it. Enki was the master geneticist, so he was the one that was apparently defiling the councils of light by creating all these abominations. Abominations that Zeus and Lil had to destroy during the Great Flood. So again, the Sumerian tablets were inverted, all right? Zeus didn't make the Great Flood happen to destroy humans. He caused the Great Flood to destroy Enki's abominations. And that's why Zeus only preserved Noah, because Noah was the only one that had a full Lyrian, Palladian, Syrian genetic makeup, him and his family. Carrie Bonificio, she's asking, are the 10 lost tribes of Israel in the inner earth? And the answer to that is no. They are living among us. For the most part, from what I understand, is that most of them live here in America, and some of them live in other continents. But no, they are not in Israel. All right. We are probably descendants of the original tribes, descendants of Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac. We, people like us, guys. Again, in the book, The Secret Government, Invisible Architects, I do reveal who the lost 10 tribes were. Let's see. All right, so Cindy Langston is asking me a very important question that maybe some of you might relate to. She's asking, I have intense vibrations and pulsations while meditating. What are your thoughts on this? All right, I've experienced that before. I've actually gotten to the point where I felt like I was levitating and I was converting into a current of energy. I ceased to be physical and I was just light. What that means is that you are raising the Kundalini energy through your vertebrae, which is liquid light, and therefore you're beginning to activate your light body. That's what that means, which is a good thing. A good thing. All right. As we get closer to the solar flash, a lot of us are going to be experiencing that, by the way. So very important to know. Yes, this is so true. Edward Eddie Kasarjan is out saying planet Earth is the jewel of the universe. Well, it's actually the jewel of the multiverse, guys, within the super universe of Orventon, which consists of millions upon millions of organized local universes. Absolutely correct, yes. And that's why all the extraterrestrials and the benevolent beings are all working for our ascension. Absolutely. Because also remember, guys, because the Earth is the jewel, right, is the carrier of all of the different genetics from across multiple universes put into one spot. It is literally a zoo of intergalactic genetics, right, and life forms put in one planet. This planet is going to kick off the 13th creation. So we're going to be moving into a new cycle of cosmic time where the Earth is going to be at the epicenter of the 13th creation. And that is explaining why everybody wants a piece of the Earth, because we contain a little bit of the entire multiverse in one planet, right? We are a living library, and we are the chosen race because we're also the most diverse. We are the culmination of the intergalactic genetic experiment. So that means that even within our genetics, We have access to all the cosmic libraries of all worlds, galaxies, and universes within the multiverse. It's all in our genes. For those that are new, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And for those that are subscribed, always double check and make sure that you're still subscribed, because I've had a few people report that they have to subscribe over and over and over because you guys are automatically being unsubscribed. I don't know how to answer that. And also, if you guys could share my videos with as many people as possible, that would be great, because I am competing with Ishmael Perez Official, who has over 50,000 subscribers, which is a pirated channel. I don't know who that guy is, but he's stealing my content, and he has been ever since I came into the scene. And so I am competing with my pirated channel. All right, so Hofkreb is asking me, Ishmael, when do you think the RV will happen and the start of the humanitarian projects? Well, according to, okay, so what they are planning from behind the scenes is they're planning to roll this out by, sometime at the end of this month or even in May, but by no later than November. All right, let's just hope it's this month. And along with that, again, they're talking about having massive motherships appear worldwide in order to accelerate the consciousness of the people that are still under, programmed through religion, and people that consider this to be woo-woo. So imagine if there are millions of motherships that all of a sudden uncloak themselves. Guys, that's going to be changing the world as we know it, right? Even the unawakened, even the program, which we used to call the normies, they're all going to be like, wow, they're all going to see the motherships, which is going to cause an acceleration of the collective, which is going to be a good thing. Yes, Adam Z is asking, is Marduk currently in human form? I believe he was reduced to a mortal, yes. And ever since he abdicated from the throne of Nibiru, when the Syrian High Council recuperated Nibiru, the Battlestar planet of the ancient Anuhasi race, right? The Anunnakis, whatever. Marduk has been hiding from his own people because he was reduced to a mortal. So he betrayed his own people. He actually leaked a lot of information to the Earth Alliance. And so that allowed the Earth Alliance to arrest a lot of their masters and puppeteers, which are really the Draconians that have been running the deep state for thousands of years. So Marduk also betrayed his own kind because he had no other choice. He was cornered by the forces of good, and he was stripped of his power. I was informed that one of the reasons why they've been holding off on disclosure for so long was because of the religions, right? Because again, the Vatican has been at the core of the Luciferian conspiracy for the last 1700 years. For those that read my book, The Secret Government, you know what I mean. Yes, Carrie Dekari is asking, what about Medusa and the Gorgonites? They were all created by Enki, absolutely. Okay, so all of the nefarious creatures in the myth stories, right? The typhoon, all those crazy monsters that were huge and gigantic. Again, guys, where do you think they get the concept of Godzilla? They were all created by Enki. Remember, Enki was the master geneticist. And that, my friends, has always been a known fact. Sarah Sega was asking me, are we going to recognize our own families after the Flash? And the answer is yes. Well, you're also going to be reunited with your true family, your celestial family, and your tribe, which is us. But again, we are going to also be reunited with our real family. Yes, the Kraken, another one. That's another creature that was created by Enki, the Kraken. And again, who were the heroes of old that fought these creatures? The children of Zeus. You see how the ancient Greek accounts totally differ than the Sumerian accounts, right? There's the proof right there. It wasn't the children of Enki, it was the children of Zeus that fought the Kraken, the Typhoon, the Leviathan, and all those other blasphemous abominations that were evil. All right, somebody's saying that Simon Parks says that we might have disclosure that a deal was worked out with the Royals. That is misinformation. That is not true. That is not true. And I don't know who told me, but for the last 3 years, I think that guy was compromised. That's all I'm going to say. So be very careful and have discernment when it comes to these truthers. Yes, Hydra is another one. Neil Lemuria. See, you guys know the who these ancient abomination creatures were. They were all created by the master geneticist himself, Enki Poseidon. Well, I was informed that the real Simon Parks was taken to Gitmo because of his betrayal to the Earth Alliance. So maybe I shouldn't be sharing that with you guys. So the so-called Simon Parks that is disseminating misinformation is actually a clone. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say that here. Probably gonna have to delete that. Oh, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Okay, so Jeanette Timpton is saying, what do you mean when you say our real family? Are you referring to our galactic family? Thank you. I'm referring to both these, all of us coming together, the millions of old souls that we are called star seeds, all of us coming together, and of course our star and galactic family. That's what I'm referring to. It's us coming together, the real tribes, right? The real tribes of ancient Israel, which has nothing to do with religion, all right, but everything to do with spirituality and also preserving the angelic genetics of the indigo race, which is what we are. There we go. The ancient Israelites were the indigos in ancient times. The indigo race, the violet race, the race that was not corrupted genetically. All right, they were not corrupted genetically. They were descendants of the angels, descendants of the Pleiadians, descendants of the Lyrans, descendants of the Syrians, not descendants of the Dracos, not descendants of the Dodecacrons, which are insectoids / reptilians, not descendants of the Greys, The original Israelites were the original indigos. We are indigos. So therefore we are Israelites. Nothing to do with the Jewish state. Nothing to do with the state of Israel. That's all crap. That's all run by who? The Rothschilds. So yes, in that regard, we are God's chosen people because we are the angelic humans. Makes perfect sense. God's chosen people are his own kind, not the reptilians, not the insectoids, and definitely not the freaking mantis. The angelic humans are God's children. That's another way of seeing it. God's chosen people. The word Israel means Isis, Ra, and El. El is who? Elyon, the lion, Lyra, El Shaddai. Well, who's a descendant of the original Lyran royal blood? Zeus, right? Zeus was a descendant, and that's why Zeus was known as Elyon, El Shaddai, Jehovah to the ancient Israelites. So that's what that means. When it talks about God's chosen people, it's the children of the angelic humans, the children of Michael, not the children of Lucifer, the children of Michael. So everything was hijacked, guys. Everything was hijacked. All right, a couple more questions. Let's see, who else is in the house? We are the sun children. It's the same thing, right? The sun is another representative of God because it gives us life through the universal life force that it emanates. So we are the children of the sun. And for those of you that have taken my class, you know the significance of eventually in the near future, as we go up in dimensions, we become what? We become a star. We also become the consciousness of a sun, of a star. That's where we're all heading. Okay, so Mathis Chronicles is asking me, what about all the kids that are still in the tunnels? Getty Museum. They have been liberated already as of last week. I know this intel is not being shared with people, but I was informed that all the kids are now been liberated. All right, so right now they're all being recuperated. They're all being hospitalized in order to restore them. And yes, a lot of these kids that were almost to the point of death, right? They were put in med beds. So they are the first ones that are using the med beds. So yes, all the kids, even in Getty at the Getty Museum, they have all been liberated. All right, guys. With that in mind, thank you guys so much for joining me on this beautiful Monday evening, the 15th of April, the year 2024. May the God Force be with you, and we'll see you guys Wednesday night for another update. Have a good evening.